Dr. Jordine, they are kids. They are kids. They are not guinea pigs. They're experimenting on the student athletes. And then they're going to experiment on me. Oh my God! I'm John Renton with the retro review of Fatal Games from 1984, written and directed by Michael Elliott and featuring two other writers, one of which played Coach Weber. And this takes place at a sports academy in Brooklyn, Massachusetts, with a bunch of athletes that have Olympic aspirations. But then a javelin-wielding killer decides to throw a monkey wrench into that. Well, actually, a javelin into that. Because if he had a monkey wrench, he'd be a monkey wrench-wielding killer. And you don't want to be your monkey wrench. You don't want to be one more indecent accident. So, some people will compare this to Graduation Day that came out in 1981, where it was track and field and killing revolving around that. Except Fatal Games is actually somewhat competent, actually mostly competent, even if the acting and the line reading isn't all that great. You at least get some people to try, even though the script is really, really fucking messy. I will say also the killer is way too fucking obvious when they immediately introduce that character. Now, even though this film has been out for over 40 years, I'm going to wait to reveal the killer until later on. You do have Diane Payne, played by Sally Kirkland, not Sally Struthers. Not, do you want to make some more money? Sure, we all do. And she is working along with Dr. Jordine, who they're basically trying to pump up these athletes and make them the best around. No one's ever going to keep them down. Steroids. Steroids is a big thing here. Some are really good at the parallel bars, others are good at swimming. They have a pretty good facility here, actually, in all honesty. Even if they can't get a lot of people to turn out to watch these trials, they really do apparently have a lot of funding. They also have some really big shower rooms and a javelin-wielding killer that they can't seem to keep track of. But then again, you find out who that is pretty early on. I mean, you actually don't find out until later on, but if you can't fucking figure out who the killer is in this, I don't know what to tell you. So you have Annie, who is pretty much the heroine of this whole thing, Lynn Banasek, who actually isn't all that bad in all seriousness. You do have T.O. Roberts, Michael O'Leary, Sean Masterson. You have some people that you may recognize from other slashers and other films. And yeah, while some of the characters really aren't very distinct and are just there to be bodies that are warm to eventually be made cold, I will say that this isn't a bad movie. It's just kind of standard outside of the academy setting, where instead of like set at a camp or at a cabin in the woods or whatever, or like when I watch Death Scream / House of Death, which is terrible. You can check out that review if you want. At least with this, I did enjoy the fact that it had cheesy, like the best around, scores. Take it all the way. Not take it all the way. Take it all the way. Na, 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 na. Take it. I know it's let's go all the way. Let me just work with this here. They actually buck the usual slasher trend and don't have somebody die in the opening scene, which I thought was actually kind of nice. There's competency in front of the camera and behind the camera as far as the direction. It's just the writing that really undoes this goddamn movie. There's a guy that has an FAA hat. I just kept calling him Fa! Coach Fa! No, but nevertheless. Yeah, for some reason, Dr. Jordine took inspiration from Dr. Zahorian. Deep cut for wrestling fans, where he decided, hey, steroids, let's just use steroids for everybody. There was also a character named Sam Burger. I would have rather followed him around and see if he had any kind of burger joint. Would have been funnier. So there's a character named Joe Ward that doesn't end up making it throughout the entire film, just so you know. He is a javelin thrower. There is a lady, Nancy, that's killed while weightlifting. See, that'll teach women involved with athletes to get around weightlifting equipment. Anybody who gets that absolutely hates me right now. All I'm going to say for those who don't quite get it, well, the dogs are in the enclosed pool area and the side garage door is open. So, yeah, people are dying, but we can't stop them from doing roids because we have to make these athletes great. Why? Why do we need to do that? That's a loose thread that isn't necessarily explored a bunch, even though the idea of drugs and the fact that Diane says, Dr. Jordine, they are kids, they are not guinea pigs. By the way I said it is pretty close to how she said it. I couldn't say it nearly as wooden as she did. And I'm not saying that Sally is a terrible actress, but boy, that was a terrible line read. By the way, Diane is the killer. Just so you know. It is very fucking obvious from that line right there. And also how she is a little bit too hands-on with some of the athletes and the massages and stuff like that. We get a part where Annie is completely naked. I mean, laying down on her stomach. Not a bad view, I'll admit that. But, yeah, Diane very hands-on with her massages. There's a reason for that. I did note at one point the silhouettes made the Javelin Killer look like a Foot Clan soldier. Then there's like this, the bong bong, the Goofy soundtrack and everything. It's just so ridiculous. I thought it might have actually been the coach at first, Coach Weber, because there's a backstory about him not being able to get through to the 64 Olympics and not being able to do what he had set out to do. But that was too much of a red herring. There's a little side thing also with Annie where her dad wants to pull her out of the academy because her grades aren't good. Daddy, I don't know what about my future, but I know I'm a damn good gymnast. Can't you just let me do this? Can't you just let me fail at school but do good in gymnastics? So Joe keeps throwing. Ding da ding da ding. It's such a silly score. It reminds me of like a bad synth version of some songs in The Secret of Mana, game, the first one, or whatever the localized one for the SNES was. That could have been the third game for all I know. So, yeah, the character Shelley, by the way, was in a gay relationship, but during a winter break had become a born-again Christian and wouldn't participate in, kissing another woman. Because evidently that is something that is frowned upon in religion, despite the fact that there are so many things in religion that prove that homosexuality has existed for decades and decades and centuries. But I digress. Annie is our heroine, by the way. No, there's no heroin usage in this. It's not a simple favor. It's not that. I did note that there was a chance that Phil could have been the killer, but really it could have only been one person because Phil really wanted to get Annie in bed with him. In the virgin aspect. I mean, I don't know if Annie was actually supposed to be a virgin or not. But Phil is going to go to Phillsburg, as it were, for baseball because it was his dad's dream. And that's quickly forgotten about. Other bodies keep piling up. I did note that one lady, I forgot the lady's name, the character's name, the African-American, like the lone African-American woman that they had in this. She got killed while running through the hallways and everything, and nobody could hear her pounding on the windows of the second story because apparently the school is soundproofed. There was terrible ADR at one point after a character named Frank broke his leg, and Diane went to check on him, and he got stretchered out and stuff like that, and Phil brought him back, and there was terrible outside ADR. I mean, absolutely badly dubbed in. But before that happened, you had Lynn that was trying to win a swimming trial deal, and you had a scuba diving Javelin Killer. That was creative, I'll give them that much. There's creativity in this movie. It's dumb, but sort of fun, but kind of is undone by the bad sound and also the very bad writing. The very, very, very bad writing, which I don't expect Shakespeare in my slashers, but I expect at least people to sound a little bit competent. So, the idea is Frank says, hey, we need to figure out what's going on because people are going missing now, including my girlfriend. Hey, Phil, come help me. Now, mind you, Frank has a broken leg. Has a cast about up just above his knee, I believe. Like those old plaster casts and stuff like that. He's on crutches. He breaks through the window at night and gets in there. Now, he tries to break into the office and figure out all this stuff. Dr. Jordine also has been saying we need to, keep this under wraps and we need to figure out what's actually going on with this. And then, like a little bit earlier, even before that, while Frank's breaking into school, a bit before that, Annie's having stomach pains, and there's this implication that, Diane had a mother that was in the 36 Olympics that had done really well and everything, but, she's not dead. She's not dead. Gee, I wonder who the fuck it is. I mean, that's kind of bad on the years and stuff like that, considering I don't think the Sally's actually that old, but nevertheless. So Frank ends up breaking into the school. Eventually ends up getting killed by the javelin thrower while evading them pretty goddamn quickly. But then Annie somehow manages to elude the javelin thrower, which has been pitch perfect, by the way. Joe got killed from like 200 fucking yards away. It was incredible. And Annie ends up basically, at one point gets stabbed in the gut, but it's like an inadvertent shot and everything, just enough to wound her. So she gets, Phil gets her. Good job trying to save Frank. I mean, he's already dead, but Phil gets her. Take her to the infirmary. Hey, Diane, the school's dark. Everything's dark, but don't worry, it's okay. And yeah, we see the slicker, and it's Diane. And we see a brief shot of a newspaper about a sex change not working for one athlete. Too many tested for too many male hormones. And that's why Diane was unable to succeed in Olympics, basically, in the Olympics, or in athletics in general. The synth vocals, the synth voicing, basically the idea is maybe the transition didn't fully work, I guess. It gets a little messy here. We go from Sally's normal voice to a very badly done synth male voice. It's like the end of Sleepaway Camp if Sleepaway Camp was, really dumb. Okay, dumber than it actually is. I fully recognize Sleepaway Camp, as cheesy as it is, as much as I love it, is pretty dumb. But I'm not going to stop now. I'm going to win, this kind of stuff. And there's this scaffolding thing that was set up earlier, I guess, where they were replacing a window. They were replacing stuff. And Annie stupidly climbs up that with a gut wound. And I don't know how the hell this happened. It was a cool visual for the end. But Diane ends up getting on top of the roof, gets down, jumps through the window, is trying to attack, gets sent over the side, and falls and gets impaled on something on a table. And then the movie literally smashes to end credits. I mean, that's right there. I mean, we see the blood dripping on whatever the trophy or whatever the hell it is, and that's it. And why? Because, well, if I couldn't make it, no other great athletes can. On drugs or not. I guess. I mean, Fatal Games isn't the worst in the world. It's just, it's undone by some technical issues and the really bad, line reading. But that being said, still fun enough. There are worse ways to spend your time. Agree, disagree with what I said? Like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.